This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gidu-Ewart. It's Friday, October 18th. This is Africa 54. Demonstrations turn deadly in Guinea as President Alpha Conde eyes a third term. In our entertainment segment, a song of love from Malawi. And we bring you a special Africa 54 collaboration with Malawi's Zodiac TV. We begin our broadcast tonight in Guinea, where there's tense protests in the country. Demonstrators are resisting proposals to draft a new constitution that could allow President Alpha Conde to extend his legal mandate. If Conde tries to stay in power, he would be copying an established playbook in some parts of Africa, where incumbent presidents have sought to change their constitutions. And on Wednesday, the government said 9 demonstrators had been killed in the protest. Here's David Doyle with that report.
Guinea's capital, Conakry, was the scene of burning tyres and gunfire this week in deadly protests against a possible change to the constitution that would allow President Alpha Conde to seek a third term. Amid the violence, several deaths. Guinea's government said on Wednesday that 9 people had been killed. A coalition of opposition groups put the number at 10 and provided a list of the dead, all males under the age of 30 and including a 14-year-old schoolboy. Police had opened fire on protesters on Monday after military posts were ransacked and roads blocked. The government said demonstrators threw stones and were armed with slings and knives. Celo Diallo, leader of the Guinea Union of Democratic Forces, said his opposition coalition deplores the use of firearms.
They killed point blank. These are youths, most of the time young school children, less than 20 years old, and who are often on site and died on the spot of their injuries.
15 opposition members and supporters appeared in court on Wednesday after being arrested for inciting violence and threatening public order. They are shouting "Amulanfe," meaning it will not pass, a slogan used to campaign against the president seeking a third term.
It will not go through, and that is the people's will, and we shall carry that voice.
Protests have continued with decreasing intensity, but point to the kind of upheaval Conde faces if he tries to extend his rule beyond his legally allotted 2 terms. The 81-year-old leader's second and final term expires in 2020, but he has refused to rule out running again. Last month, he raised concerns by asking his government to look into drafting a new constitution.
That was David Doyle of Reuters reporting. Heavy rains have pounded Ivory Coast for about a week now, causing massive flooding in several cities across the country. 5 deaths have been reported in Abidjan, including those of a couple and their child. In a separate incident, a mother and her baby were killed after a wall collapsed in the Abobo neighborhood. The rains have nearly paralyzed traffic east of Abidjan, forcing bus companies to suspend their services. On Friday, Ivorian authorities warned more rains were expected over the weekend. Ivorian media reports 16 people were killed after a minibus collided with another vehicle between Abidjan and Abanguru due to poor visibility. Heavy rains last year resulted in deaths of about 18 people and affected hundreds of families. Authorities in Burundi have arrested more than 40 people accused of breaching the country's central bank regulation on foreign exchange. The government increased the penalties for black market trading last month. Burundi has seen a foreign currency shortage in the last few months after it was frozen in 2016 after President Pierre Nkurunziza ran for a third term. Right now, US dollars are sold at the official rate of 1,876 only to importers of essential goods such as fuel and fertilizers. The dollar fetches about 2,900 Burundian francs in the capital Bujumbura, nearly double the official rate. Many businesses say they are unable to import merchandise and might be forced to shut down. In other world news, fighting appears to continue in the northeast Syria despite a U.S. brokered ceasefire deal for the region. Loud bangs and gunfire could be heard and smoke could be seen rising over the town of Selanpinar. This comes a day after Turkey and the United States agreed to a 5-day ceasefire in Turkey's offensive against Kurdish fighters who it considers to be terrorists. The agreement requires the Kurdish fighters to vacate part of Syria along the Turkish border in an arrangement that largely solidifies Turkey's position in the conflict. Turkish troops and Turkish-backed Syrian fighters launched their offensive against Kurdish forces in northern Syria a week ago after U.S. President Donald Trump suddenly announced a withdrawal of American troops from the area. Washington is still mourning the loss of Democratic U.S. Representative Elijah Cummings. He passed away Thursday at the age of 68. The late U.S. congressman who represented the state of Maryland was also an inspirational figure for many, especially African Americans. VOA's congressional correspondent Catherine Gibson reports.
Washington in mourning for the loss of one of its most powerful voices.
When we're dancing with the angels, the question will be asked, in 2019, what do we do to make sure we kept our democracy intact?
Head of the House Oversight Committee leading the impeachment inquiry into Trump, Cummings had a fierce sense of justice that still drew respect from fellow Republicans. President Trump tweeted his condolences, but earlier this summer he had harsh words for Cummings and his predominantly African-American home city of Baltimore.
Those people are living in hell in Baltimore.
The president's claim Cummings' district was a rat and rodent-infested mess, seen as a racially insensitive attack, looked at as retaliation for Cummings' investigations into the administration.
We are the United States of America. We are the greatest country in the world. We are the ones that can go anywhere in the world and save people.
But both Democrats and Republicans remembered him Thursday as one of the leading figures in Congress for his strong values.
Concerned about voting rights, civil rights, alleviating poverty, establishing justice, and ensuring that those entrusted with high office are held accountable and carry out their responsibilities lawfully and ethically.
Cummings began life the son of sharecroppers, becoming a civil rights activist in the 1960s before rising through hard work and political skill to become a key voice in Congress after serving for years in the state of Maryland General Assembly.
He lived the American dream, and he wanted it for everyone else.
A legacy his congressional colleagues said they would carry on in his memory. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Capitol Hill.
The White House acting chief of staff appears to be walking back his comment that President Donald Trump froze $400 million in military aid to Ukraine to pressure that country into investigating Democrats in the 2016 presidential election. Mulvaney's revelation came after Trump spent weeks denying there was any quid pro quo with Ukraine. Mulvaney told reporters the money for Ukraine was held up because of Trump's concerns over corruption in Ukraine and suspicions the country was involved in the Russian hacking of the Democratic National Committee emails in 2016. Mulvaney issued a statement late Thursday attempting to clear up his comments. He accused the media of misconstruing what he said to benefit a, quote, biased and political witch hunt against Trump. Now, Trump's legal team distanced itself from Mulvaney, with presidential lawyer Jay Sekulow saying he and others were not involved in Mulvaney's appearance before the press. Malawian multi-talented musician and vocalist Lulu touches on a universal theme, love or love lost in this case, with his song Ugondi-bwele-zera. It's Music Time in Africa's Song of the Week. Let's listen.
Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Maxwell.
And I'm Mr. Asante.
And it's time for Song of the Week. Now, this week we have a song from Malawi, and it is called Ugondi-bwele-zera.
Got it. I was scared for the name.
It's by an artist named Lulu. So let's listen to it. We'll be right back.
Jump right in.
Malankulidwe yasinta wayamba kukweza mau simomwe ukandila nkulila pondifuna nkakamba mau wanzeru kumandilonjeza zambili unalipo ambili kumaiwe kundiwina nkakamba zanzelu mau wako limbikita babira ntawi ndifuna ndimveso kawili hani o simfuna chintu china Ugondi-bwele-zera.
It's high.
All right, so this is Lulu. What I love about this song and the video is that it's all acoustic, natural. Lulu is a very, very good guitar player and a singer, and his voice is just stunning.
And I can tell, you can see he's putting in a lot of effort in trying to express what the message of the song is, which is love lost. Yes, love lost.
Oh.
Yep.
Godi mpete njotani yakusinta ntimahani chindivekele nisuma samala zaine yopaipa unasiya kundipatsa ntawi chiro ya chuluka potita kwatirana ntawi ya chibwezi unkapezeka kati odala ndine unandilonjeza zambiri hani unandilimbitsa ntima hani koma mpaka ndikukalamba olo chimodzi sindikuona hani nkandinong'oneza mwachikondi kumandiphinyira diso limodzi babira nthawi ndifuna ndimvesa kawiri hani.
Now, one of the things I love about this song is it kind of sounds like Congolese music, but it also sounds Malawian. The harmonies are beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's just, I like seeing and hearing music that is not actually heavily produced in the studio with electronic instruments.
Yes, and it's just a beautiful love story, and love in its simplest form.
Yeah.
With a string, his voice, and just singing about how he needs his partner to remember how they used to love each other.
Has that ever happened to you? Never mind. Let's All right, well, so that was a beautiful song from Malawi by Lulu. The title is Ugondi-bwele-zera. I got it. Ugondi-bwele-zera.
Good. Well done, Lulu. Well done. It's a beautiful song.
Yeah. I'm Heather Maxwell.
And I'm Mr. Asante for you now and always.
And that was
Song of the Week.
We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. We're going to take a break right now, but as we hand over to Africa 54's managing editor, Benson McCory. He is in Malawi for a special news segment with our affiliate in that country, Zodiac TV. Stay with us.
Chibwana, Chibwana Chimalanda. Chibwana, Chibwana Chimalanda. Ungakhala pabwino, boyi papa maitana. Chibwana, Chibwana Chimalanda. Ungakhala panchito, ulova umakodola. Chibwana, Chibwana Chimalanda. Ungakhala pabanja, umbeta umaitana.
Hello and welcome to Africa 54 on the set of Zodiac TV in Lilongwe. I am Joab Frank Chakaza with Vincent Makori from VOA. Welcome to Malawi.
Thank you very much, Joe.
And I hope you've been having fun since you've been around.
I have to say I've enjoyed being in Malawi. The people of Malawi are so warm and welcoming.
Been going around?
Yes, I've traveled around quite a bit. I started off in Mangochi by Lake Malawi.
Very hot down that side.
Very, very hot. And I got to see quite a, a number of things there, but also witnessed a drought in the area.
Yes.
And then another thing I noticed is that quite a number of children are not in school. They're staying out of school, and I'm told that they're staying out of school to help their families due to poverty. But poverty and food shortages aren't the only things restricting access to education. So we decided to investigate the issue, and here's what we found. Nearly 25 years ago, the government of Malawi introduced free primary education. But it has been very difficult implementing that policy due to lack of resources. Many schools are overcrowded, they have way fewer teachers, and many lack supplies to provide quality education. Now the government says it has introduced a number of programs to help Malawian children go to school. There are also a number of non-government organizations across the country that are trying to do the same. Lamek Masina brings you that story.
Dina Malenga is the only fourth grade teacher at Mazembe Primary School in Malawi Sinkatabe district. She teaches 112 students, almost double the recommended 60 per teacher.
It's too hectic for me as a teacher. Since there's so many students, they don't easily grasp what I'm teaching them, and some don't even finish assignments. Tracking those who do not finish their assignments is another tough job to do.
Malenga is among teachers struggling with the impact of Malawi's policy on free primary education. The government introduced the policy in 1994 to curb illiteracy, but did not provide adequate funding. Teachers say the resulting influx in students has reduced the quality of education.
So this is a situation with the free primary because so many teachers are registering, so many learners are registering, but we don't have enough teachers to teach those learners in primary schools.
Western charities like Ripple Africa have stepped in to help address the resource challenges. The charity is supporting 6 primary schools in Nkatabe with donated desks, classroom, and teacher housing construction.
Our aim behind this is that we want to make sure that this community here, the children should do well up to university level, so that they should be self-sustainable rather than relying to Ripple Africa or relying for someone's help, because education is the key to everything.
The charity is also paying salaries for trainee primary school teachers who are not on the government payroll.
At least my life has been changed. So I'm able to support my family, although the salaries which I get is a little, but the little I get is enough to support my family.
Ripple Africa says it plans to source more funds to double the number of Malawi primary schools it is supporting and further ease the burden on teachers. Lamek Masina for VOA News, Nkatabe, Malawi.
So unfortunately, our attempts to get a statement from the Minister of Education were unsuccessful.
Yeah, that's sad, but I do understand that you have also been going around in some primary schools in Malawi to appreciate the situation on the ground.
Yes, one of the schools I actually visited is here in Lilongwe.
Yes.
And what hit me as I got in there is the sheer population of learners.
Yes.
I mean, this one school has 6,000 students, and in every class, there's only one teacher to 200 learners. And I couldn't believe it, that it's possible to offer quality education under those circumstances.
It makes it incredibly difficult, and I think it's also difficult for the teachers to train the individual progress of the learners in that situation.
Yes, in fact, in many cases, they don't even know who's in class, who is outside of class. Some of the children, I could see them just walking out of the gate and going home at 10 a.m. in the morning. When I asked the teachers, they said, well, in fact, when some of them don't show up, it's even better because the classrooms are so crammed that you wish that there were fewer students. Now, some of them even stay outside and learn under a tree sitting on stones. It's unbelievable, and that is what poverty has done to some in the education sector.
Poverty has done many things to Malawi, and widespread poverty among women in the lakeshore areas of the country is again forcing some female fish traders to exchange sex for fish. In Mangochi, sexual advances could come from either a man or a woman, and sometimes circumstances make it a requirement. Take a look.
Women carrying buckets each morning to buy fish at Lake Malawi is a common sight in the Makawa area. Strange, though, is the locals say some of them engage in a practice of exchanging sex for fish.
This really happens here. Most fishermen come to the lake with a mission that they will find women, but the relationships don't last and they only bring problems to village women. For example, I have MK2000, but I need to go to the lake to buy some fish, and there, one fisherman offers me free fish. Taking into account that I didn't eat last night, and neither did my child, I would end up accepting the offer, and that would end up leading to something.
The practice has brought a lot of misery to the women.
If the prevalence of HIV infection is increasing in our area, it is largely because of fishermen. Women are too desperate for fish. And also, most of the fishermen are just impregnating the women, and then they run away, leaving the women to struggle taking care of babies.
Although transactional sex between female fish traders and fishermen in Lake Malawi is rampant, stigma and discrimination make it difficult to identify those involved.
I don't allow that. I try my best to do some piecework to raise money to buy fish because I fear if I do this, I can contract HIV. And if I contract HIV, who can feed my children? Because I am the only parent to take care of them.
Fishermen distance themselves from the matter.
We don't do that. If a woman doesn't have enough money to buy fish, we don't ask to do anything with her.
I come to the lake to feed my family. Such tendencies are more rampant to bachelors. They are the ones who do that.
However, research shows that sex for fish in Malawi is more rampant between December and March because it is a period when the country is hard hit with food shortages. To curb the problem, community leaders have introduced economic empowerment initiatives for women to ensure that they have their own sources of income instead of relying on credit from fishermen.
We have empowered women to form groups so that they can start providing loans among themselves to start businesses. In doing so, we are sure women can be strong, to stand on her own, and she can be refusing suspicious offers from men because she has something to rely on.
In the meantime, they are working to source more funds from well-wishers to completely shut down the women's dependence on credit from fishermen. With reporter Lamek Masina for VOA News, I am Tway Sangosi for Zodiac TV.
Well, another issue we noticed in Mangochi is plastic pollution around Lake Malawi. Now, despite a recent ban on the use of plastics, pollution continues, and conservationists say it puts a strain on aquatic life. In fact, studies warn that the fish stock in the lake could be depleted by 2050 unless the pollution stops. Like people across Africa, Malawians often use plastic bags for carrying various items because of their durability and lightweight. But conservationists say the bags present a threat to about 1,000 fish species found in Africa's third largest lake.
You know, when these plastic papers goes to the lake, you know, you find that fish are eating this plastic paper, which is harmful to fish, which is not good. So they are not good thing in Malawi. So it's not just on the land as well as in the lake.
Malawi banned the use of thin plastics in 2012, but the ban was suspended after the Plastic Manufacturers Association of Malawi obtained a court order negating the ban, saying it posed a danger to their business. Although the Supreme Court of Appeal upheld the ban in July this year, communities living along Lake Malawi still complain of continued flooding of plastics into the lake.
These plastic bags are heavily affecting lives of fish in the lake. For example, we had a lot of fish around this area in the past, but now the plastic papers are making the fish fail to breathe properly once covered. In doing so, they don't breathe.
Residents say they cannot force the plastic bag makers to stop because they don't have the mandate to do so.
We would wish the government empowered us to sensitize traders who are selling the plastic papers to stop it. This would help us completely clean the lake of any plastic papers.
However, a local conservation NGO, Ripple Africa, has introduced an initiative to rid the lake of the plastics, in which it mobilizes communities to remove plastics near and around the lake.
We have done a lot of cleaning up campaign, and we are also busy now sending the message out that I think using plastic paper is not a good thing. So we have already starting something on the ground.
Meanwhile, the government is running messages on local media asking the people to replace their plastic bags with carriers that can decompose easily, like paper and canvas bags. Well, that story was produced by Lamek Masina in Mangochi district.
And that's how we call it a wrap on Africa 54. I am Joab Frank Chakaza with Vincent Makori of VOA. Thank you so much for coming to Malawi.
Thank you very much, Joab. It's been a great pleasure being here at Zodiac TV.
I hope you come back to enjoy our fish.
We look forward to coming back. I have been eating fish like every day. I hope I'll have another chance to come back and eat
the chambo is awesome.
Fish.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing fish.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much
for your
hospitality. And this has been a co-production of VOA's Africa 54 and Zodiac TV of Malawi. We want to thank everyone who has been involved in this to make it a reality. For viewers across Africa, thank you for watching. For those of you in Malawi, keep watching Africa 54 on Zodiac TV. I'm Vincent Makori. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, and safe travels back.
Thank you. Thank you, Joel.